We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
President Murray,
Here.
Director Adams,
Here.
Director Baskin,
Here.
Director Clayton,
Here.
Director Brown.
Moving on to agenda item number 1, minutes of the regular meeting held February 9th, 2023.
I would view the minutes by the council and they would be approved.
I second that. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Moving on to agenda item number 2, committee reports.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had 2 committee reports. We had an admin and financial report, committee meeting, to discuss the TSA lease, which is on the agenda this evening. And we had a business park committee meeting to discuss, Pioneer Park. That lease will be expiring in July. And that's all I have.
Okay, moving on to item number 3, general manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. A couple things. So the Friday after our last board meeting, we had a couple incidents here. As you may have noticed, the street sign out front. It appears that we had a drunk driver miss a turn and hit it. It is split in half at the moment. We have contacted the city to come remove that or replace it. We've given them a couple weeks before we do that ourselves. Then about 45 minutes later, we had a stolen car chase end up here. The driver ducked out of the car, let the car roll into our fence, and it bounced off the fence. And then 7 SMPD officers showed up to try and get the person that took that. He had jumped out early and hid in our bushes. They eventually found him, but it took some time. It was kind of a fascinating video to see. So that was a couple of things, little damage to the fence that were be replaced or worked on, but and then that sign will, like I said, get replaced as well. We had our FAA inspection that was completed the day after our board meeting as well. We have not gotten our final report on that. Unfortunately, our inspector did get called to Hawaii right after to deal with a couple things over there. So we should be expecting that soon. Overall, it was a much better inspection than last year. They were happy with things we've done to mitigate issues that we've had in the past. We had a few issues with some of our ARF training and fueling, but again, we'll get the full report once she gets that to us, and hopefully next week. We had a tenant meeting where we invited all of our tenants out to lunch just to have a informal chat about anything that they're experiencing on the field. It was a very well attended meeting. It was a good meeting. President Moreno joined us. Anything you would like to add to that?
Yeah, it was a good meeting. I think it's a very beneficial meeting, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of them.
Yeah, we decided we'll probably do it quarterly or biannually just to keep in touch with our tenants. I mean, we see them daily and talk to them while we're out there, but just to have that meeting to chat about things going on was helpful for us. We did an airport property tour yesterday with Directors Moreno and Clayton. I thought it was a very good meeting, seemed educational for you guys. Anything?
Pretty huge property out there. It's a lot of driving. We did the perimeter. We went all the way around the perimeter and got the history of the whole thing. How it became this way instead of that way, where the runways were added on. All the work that's gone out there to keep that thing up. All the work that's required to keep those signs out there, just the signs alone to keep those fresh and keep them up. The ground out there, just to keep that grass cut. I mean, you start cutting on one side, by the time you get to the other side, you gotta just start over.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work out there. It's huge. It was huge.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. We did invite our engineer, John Smith, and Rick was out there with us as well. So we talked about a lot of topics and saw the majority of the airport, not all of it. It is a big piece of property and we only had a couple hours, but we can always do more if you guys feel the need. I had a good meeting with, one of our farmers today to discuss, some water mitigation. We're gonna start doing a couple things today and tomorrow in preparation for the upcoming rains. And that was for current, and then we're looking at long-term solutions for the future as well.
Which area is this water mitigation?
What's that?
What area would this water mitigation possibly?
All down there. Few parcels on the other side, yeah. Across Foster and all the way down Foster. And then we had our business expo today. The chamber put on a business expo out at the Radisson. We had a few staff members there. President Moreno joined us as well. I think it was a great event. We had a lot of people come up and learn some things about the airport and what we have going on and what we have coming in the future. We were able to talk to some people. We're actually about to go out for an RFP for security services. That contract has expired, so we're in the process of getting that out next week. And we ran into a security service there, so it was great to talk to him, and we'll be sending the RFP information out when we have that ready. Overall, I think it was a great event. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. I think doing more community involvement events like that is something that we should definitely look forward to in the future. So that's something that we can add into the agenda later on, is find other expos like that in the area. We can join and just kind of have the community on.
Yeah, absolutely. We are sponsoring the Kite Festival this year, so we can have someone out there for that as well. That is all I have.
I got a question.
Yeah.
The tenant meeting that you had was for the commercial tenants, correct?
Correct. Well, we invited a representative from the hangar tenants as well.
Is it possible that we could do something for the GA tenants at some point in time, maybe even just an annual deal up here? The meeting it's kind of the same principle. That way, if they have some kind of something they want brought up or talked about, I think that'd be a great time to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we did bring someone in from the FAST team to represent them, and he was passing information back and forth and had questions for us specifically from. Rich unfortunately was unable to join. He got sick that day, but he sent Bill Devaney. Yeah.
Okay, but I just think it'd be a good idea to do the GA.
Yeah.
Do the same kind of a deal. Probably have to be on a Saturday.
That's all I have.
Let's go on to agenda item number 4, Manager of Finance and Administration report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I provided the demand register for your review and approval.
I'd rather make a motion to approve it.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. I'm moving on to.
Well, sorry, Mr. President, we have 2 other reports for you.
The actual to budget is provided for your information and the financial statements as well, and we are still showing a gain for the year in our financial statements due to the land sales and the CARES grants. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those this time.
What should we get from the sale of that land?
$1,165,327.
Is that the one that is out of Skyway?
It's up here. Across the street. Hi.
Let's go on to item number 5, District Calendar report.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. We, after the agenda was prepared and posted, we did receive some information from a tenant related to a 3-day notice to quit that was served based on a lease violation. It is something time sensitive, and because of that, because you see that the agenda was posted, if the board so chooses, by majority decision by the board, we can add it to item 16B of closed session. Significant exposure to litigation pursuant to government code section 546.9B. It's currently 2 cases. The modification would just be to make that 3 cases. I do have copies of the correspondence here for any members of the public that would like to see it and potential comment on it prior to closed session. So all those available, but it's my recommendation that if the board would vote to add that, and we can discuss it in the closed session.
And make a motion to.
I'll second it.
Let's go ahead and, vote on that.
Get a roll call. Get a roll call. Get a roll call.
We can do roll call, that's fine.
Director Basket,
Yes.
Director Clayton,
Yes.
President Moreno,
Yes.
Director Brown.
Yes.
Director Adams.
Yes.
That information is also on the iPads.
Try to read down here.
Okay, we have a couple of you.
Good to go.
Well, I'll put. Yeah, now let's go to 6.
All right. Moving on to item number 6, public session. Statements from the floor will be heard during public session. Requests to speak forms are provided for those wishing to address the board. After completing the form, please give it to the clerk. Requests requiring board action will be referred to and brought on the next agenda. Members of the public are cordially invited to speak on agenda items as they occur. Staff reports covering agenda items are available for review in the office of the general manager on the Tuesday prior to each meeting. The board will establish time limit for receipt testimony. This takes 2 minutes. The board reserves the right to establish further time limits for receipt testimony. You want to move on to session? So let's go on to item number 7, authorizations for the president and secretary to execute the employment contract for the general manager.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is going to be the employment contract for Martin Tull, the GM that you selected for the position that was open. The key differences from the contract we had in place prior to Chris leaving and the new GM is the monthly car allowance went up to $667. He has a $10,000 reimbursement for moving expenses. His employment is to begin 4/3. And we did add language for the admin leave. That's always been policy, but the language is not in the contract, so we've added that for his request.
I make a motion to approve. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
I was a little unclear on the vote. Maybe perhaps the best thing to do would be just to do a roll call and we'll have a clear record. That would be my recommendation.
Director Basket.
Yes.
Director Clayton,
Yes.
President Moreno,
Yes.
Director Brown,
Yes.
Director Adams.
Yes.
Moving on to item number 8, discussion and direction to staff regarding the Santa Maria Public Airport District imposing a surcharge fee to customers for use of credit cards.
Thank you, Mr. President. We provided a document in your packet to show you the fees that we've been paying over the years, but just to give you a little history, in 2018, we did add the capability of credit card payments. We did have quite an extensive delinquent tenant list at the time. The credit card payments reduced that to 0 delinquent tenants. The fees, though, have been increasing each year, as you can see, and we are looking to recoup those costs. We would like the card user to cover those. We were working with CSDA to lower their percentage rate instead of the card company having the authority over how the rate is imposed. CSDA has worked to get a flat rate of 2.25% per transaction that could be automatically charged to the user. We do still offer ACH for anyone who does not want to use their credit card, and we look to you for guidance.
I will make a motion that we take and impose a 2.25% surcharge for any credit card transaction.
I saw it looked like it was up to around $20,000 that were being paid by the airport for the use of credit cards.
Yeah, it's 24, I think, Mario. 22, yes. So what we are looking to do is create a policy for this. We would like a resolution passed, but we wanted to get your discussion and direction prior to that. If it is the direction of the board to go ahead and add the fees that would be charged directly to the user, we can bring that policy at the next meeting.
I think it should be done.
Okay, here's my position on that. Okay. We went to this position to give our tenants the ability to pay with credit card. We're taking our delinquent tenants list down to pretty much zero. So, I mean, 2.25% on normal hanger is what? Pretty much nothing. In terms of dollars.
And that's 24,000.
Well, I mean, as far as dollars are concerned. I think that as far as the hanger tenants that are paying on their credit card, I think what we need to do is oppose that fee above a certain limit. So the hanger tenants paying is not a big portion of where that fee's coming. So let's say anything over, that you're paying over $1,000, we'll oppose to 2.25%.
Why discriminate like that? Just take it
Because-
across the board.
Because the fees are big.
They just take it across the board and everybody, if you're gonna pay with the credit card, pay a certain surcharge across the board.
So, I mean, we did this for our convenience. So I can't see it imposing that 2.25% across the board on our hanger tenants.
You
You know, when I have a commercial account that's doing $10,000 on a credit card to pay their bill, I can see charging them 2.25%.
Think then we have the problem of additional bookkeeping or accounting issues. If we're going to do it, I think it should be across the board or forget it. The 2.5% probably is less trouble than what we had before with the people not paying on time with the credit card. And when the credit card was accepted, all the delays went away. I would, and with the current crunch in small aviation, I would suggest that we don't even do it at all. It's, well, it's $22,000. That represents about 3% of a much larger amount, which the airport gets more reliably, and I think it's a good trade-off at this point. This could be put out for discussions into the hangar tenants and have a vote, or get a, not a vote, but at least give her a response to a notice that this is being considered. What do they think?
Well, I think everybody has the option of paying ACH. It doesn't cost anything to do ACH. I still stick with, I think it should be a flat 2.25%. We're not making money on it. We're just covering our expenses.
I agree.
Part of it, there's a certain expense of doing business, Steve, and that's part of the expense of taking credit cards.
It's not, because you go to any government facility anywhere, there's nobody that's doing it without covering their credit card fees. DMV, any place that I can think of is charging it now. A lot of restaurants are starting to charge it.
If I can just jump in, one thing we have to consider and take a look at that I don't know the answer to, if the board was interested in setting up a situation where some payees were charged the fee and some were not. We have to make sure that we don't run afoul of the FAA's non-discrimination provisions when it comes to that. It's obviously, as you know, it's beyond typical anti-discrimination laws where it's race, sex, gender, things like that. We have economic non-discrimination requirements through the FAA. We need to make sure that we're not discriminating between similarly situated tenants. So I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head, but that's something we have to look at if we did want to create.
I think it should be all or nothing. It shouldn't be.
How'd you come up with the 2.25?
That's what it costs.
That's what it costs.
That's the fee.
I agree.
Yeah, we don't make any money on it. No, it's 2.25.
We're not making any money. And then everybody has the option. Like I said, they can do ACH transfers. Doesn't cost anything. That's how I pay my fees. Down to the transfer.
Now, here's the other thing with ACH. You can't do an ACH. So I can set up an ACH line with the airport for my hangar fees. You cannot process that ACH until I give you a authority to process
You're gonna be confused.
Okay, because I have some of my vendors line set up on ACH.
Okay.
Okay, before they can process that ACH, I have to give them authority to process. They cannot process it indiscriminately.
Right, but yes, they would sign them, they would fill out the paperwork to have the ACH done monthly. It's not every single time we charge rent,
Once,
it's
once it's
just one
set up,
time,
it would be automated, it would be.
right? And some people have their bank do it for them. They just.
The other thing I do is
Mhm.
I should back up, I don't do ACH, I do bank checks. The bank sends a check automatically.
Mhm.
Right, that's also an option. We could
Yeah.
That's all.
pick every one.
And, I mean, I say that we do it above a certain dollar value limit,
If we can.
if we can. I can't see charging the hangar tenants 2.25%, being they're paying on their credit card.
I mean, 2.25%, DA hanger.
Is 2 cents.
Which that's,
So we're talking 2 cents.
No,
So we're,
2 cents.
so we're pushing 2 cents,
no, you're not, it's,
So, I mean, like,
2.75 times 2.25. Right.
it's probably like $6.
Is it?
yeah, $6 and they would go to $6. It's not a big deal, but it's just to defer people, we either pay the money to keep the credit card or defer them away. That's all. They still have a way of paying it where there's no fees.
I think a letter should go out to the hangar tenants explaining that and saying that we'll make a decision in the future as to what we do. But I believe in giving warnings and advice and information out to people who will be affected, whether it's $6, which is a gallon of gas, or not.
Good, Mike, I agree, they need a notification, we need to not start it tomorrow without notifying.
Oh, I
No,
think
we-
we don't even have it in policy for.
We would obviously, we would have an agenda, we would have an agendized issue coming back for the approval of
Yeah.
the policy. It would be published, on our website. Everybody would have the opportunity to come speak before any action is taken to adoption. All we need right now is a general idea of what the consensus of the board is, the majority of the board would like us to do to bring something back. And it sounds like what I'm hearing is, at least 3 board members that would like to see a draft policy that imposes the 2.25% surcharge to cover the fee across the board for those who pay with credit cards.
So I don't want to see if we can put a threshold.
I'll certainly, I will look into that issue from a legal perspective, but as far as, I think what the requesting majority of the board bring back is.
So let's go ahead and, go ahead and look up, look up the threshold or see if that's like an issue. And then, Harry, in terms of policy, let's find out what I guess margin we're looking for in terms of Chuck's idea, and then we can.
We'll bring something back for review. It may or may not be approved at the next meeting, right? It will be here. You'll have something in writing that you can see ahead of the meeting. We can have a discussion. There can potentially be changes made to the policy and adopted at that time. You could request that we bring back a revised policy for consideration in the future, all that sort of stuff. But we will just have, what we will do is we'll have something in writing that is at least a starting point to put something in that will actually be approved.
Moving on to item number 9, authorization for 2 staff members to attend the Central Valley Facilities Expo to be held March 15th through March 16th. Held in Modesto.
Thank you, Mr. President. This one and the next item were brought to me from our operations and maintenance manager. He is looking to send 2 staff members. This does give us an opportunity to garner knowledge about how other public agencies maintain, build, and operate their infrastructure. And this one specifically is for the Central Valley.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So item number 10, authorization for 2 staff members to attend the Southern California Facilities Expo on April 5th through April 6th, held in Anaheim.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's the exact same thing. This one is specifically for Southern California.
Same motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Moving on to item number 11, authorization for 1 staff member or designee to attend the Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo to be held March 28th through April 2nd in Lakeland, Florida.
Thank you, Mr. President. You had asked this item to be brought forward to the board for consideration. I'm looking to bring additional aviation business to Santa Maria.
Yes. I guess I'll add on to that. So this item and the next item, these are some of the largest conventions in aviation, general aviation. So I would like to see someone from us represent the airport and try to garner interest in the aviation business.
I have a question, okay, so. And I looked at this, I thought about this long and hard. Okay, who's gonna be our target market? Who are we gonna talk to, and what are we going to accomplish? I mean, just to go out there and not have a plan, we're wasting money. So, who's the target market, who are we gonna talk to, and what's gonna be our accomplishments? And then how are we gonna engage them? Plus you get to like Southern Front, and you get into Oshkosh. You get those businesses that are there, they're there to sell their product. They're really not there looking to move. Their whole focus is a little different direction. Now, does that not mean it might not come at a later date? Yeah, it might. But I don't think this is the venue to try and gather these people in, because they ain't coming in Santa Maria. Because that mindset is just not gonna be there. Because their whole mindset is gonna be, I got someone that goes here and deals with this. And do you have the right people there? I don't know. You know, is it just their employees, or the general sales manager, or the manager of operation, and who's going to be there? I can't see where we're going to get any benefit out. That's my opinion.
I agree with that. I've been to Sun and Sun and Oshkosh many times. As a board member, I've been there, and I've never once thought about running into the board. It's just a fun thing to go to. I don't think that we can really promote Santa Maria Airport at Oshkosh, so I'm opposed.
Here's additional thoughts. There is a person from this airport who goes there, sets up a table and brings business to this airport, and I would think it'd be nice to support her in those activities because she sits on tables. She brings about 90% of her aircraft in her painting from outside the state. And so far, she's been promoting the airport and her business out on Nickel, and maybe it'd be a nice thing to support her to go to one of these events with some.
I think that would be considered a gift to public funds. I'll use Carl's terminology on that. It's fine for a retail establishment. She can do whatever she wants to do. Aircraft can do whatever they want to do to promote their wares. I don't think it's our position to support a single tenant in this situation.
And really, and that comes to my point. Really, what she's doing is she is promoting her services. So, okay, she's promoting her services to a person who wants to buy those services. You're not going to get people coming to the airport and wanting to move their business through that direction.
When they come to this airport, they use the local businesses besides her paint shop. They stay here for a little while and they come back to pick the
That's the
aircraft.
time to get them.
And this is a service that she does that benefits the airport. And so far, she's been doing it on her own nickel. We might at least have a conversation with her to see how we can support her. I don't consider it gift to public funds. If she's got a Santa Maria sign out there, she's working and adding us to her business as a location.
Well, she already does that, is how else they
Well,
get it. So, and that is a gift to public funds, but.
I have a different view on that, but respect yours.
So going into this, because this is beside the point of the whole having aircraft or funding aircraft. The time that I've gone to Oshkosh, I've had the complete opposite mentality that Steve has had. I went there and I saw the opportunity. I saw airports that were represented there. I've seen people come up to the different businesses. All of the different businesses that were there, they weren't just general managers or employees. A lot of the owners are there. So I see it as an opportunity to let these businesses who might be working out of a hangar know that we have all this room. So it's building these relationships now and maintaining those relationships throughout to have them come here hopefully in the future. to have a bus lane distribution district there. So,
And to support that, the actual cost of going there, coming back, or it's one or two people, it's a minor blip on our whole advertising budget that we really don't do much with. But, I would support what he says. I've been there also. And there's a great opportunity to talk to the right people who are starting designs for planes, what manufacturing spaces. We've got space here, a lot of other places don't.
I've never been to those, but I'm thinking I would want an agenda of what we're expecting to accomplish once we get there. So that we get some sort of something out of it to see where we, I don't know, I'm just listening to Steve over here, he's been over there and he said it's just a big party. So I'm not quite sure which way to go in that.
You know, who are you gonna talk to, who are you gonna approach? Who's it gonna be?
Those come with the following trip report, but whether we get these.
Well, there's a list of who's gonna be there. And I think if we're really trying to promote this airport, we're probably better off working with the Museum of Flight to bring more business in, because they did deal with it. And they have the connections that we don't have, that we're just going out there arbitrarily trying to climb. It's kind of like going out, I don't know if you guys would have fun when you go, going out to dust and box you and then get done. You have to dial in, you have to have your aim, you have to be pointed.
so we do have a public agenda or public request to speak for, are we skipping this? What's for this thing? So let's go ahead and before we make a decision with the party. So what's?
Once again, I'm just adding more context to it. I believe Director Adam has a really good point. It's not just going there blindly. Our business, right, came up with the conversation. Our business has been approached multiple times at different airports at these events. We are currently on an expansion mode. We're looking at buying property in Oshkosh. We were approached by Oshkosh in Southern Fund, and as well as Dallas. As a business, we've taken those trips on, on our back. We're not expecting the airports to pay. However, there is actual other organizations, just like yourself, special districts, actively out there going to these big shows and stuff like that. I think President Moreno has got a really good point going out with that guidance that you are giving to come up with an agenda. Maybe it's bringing a helicopter company that actually will stay. Maybe it's bringing an engine company. Maybe it's somebody that's on the East Coast or in Canada that wants to relocate to the US to the bigger market. For example, there's a TBN show that happens every time in North Carolina. And that's obviously a Dutch company, got it. And they're always looking for more people that want to, for more locations and stuff like that. So it is kind of food for thought as a business on this airport. We have been approved by other airports, and we constantly say, hey, this is the best airport to be at. Climate for what we do. We can pay year round. We don't have to deal with the random climate changes in the community. So it is a really important asset that the community has here. I think all of you guys, I think the board members should said, maybe not yourselves, but the staff to go out there with an agenda of recruiting other businesses. That's all I have.
So going back into this. Yeah, so I would like to see, it doesn't have to be board members, it doesn't have to be me. Actually, something fun, I can't even make something fun. I just think it's something that we need to start looking into. We need to start going out there. We need to start, I guess for better words, try to scalp these businesses from their current airports into our airports.
I want to see who we're going to talk to, and I want to see.
Yeah, we can definitely, I think that's something, a strategic plan for these events is something that we should definitely draft out and stick to them. So. With that being said, is this the year we start?
So, well, I'd like to make a motion that we table this till the next meeting, till we come up with that strategic plan, so we know what we're doing.
How about, I mean, Sun Fund's gonna be. Sun Fund's next month, the end of next month.
Mr.
How about we
President,
just go ahead and skip
if
on-
I may, you can't attend and I cannot attend that one. We may look at skipping that till next year.
Right, I wasn't even moved in, right, so Sun Fund, so yeah, so let's go ahead and, just scratch off Sun Fund, we'll go ahead and, set up an agenda item to create this, action plan for Oshkosh, and, we'll vote on it then. Okay, moving on to item number 13, presentation by Tom Woodrow regarding U.S. Customs. And I'm skipping number 12 since.
Thank you. Thank you, President Moreno, members of the board. Just a quick update. Actually, just a few minutes ago, got the latest from John Smith at Cartolio. This was email at 3:50 and 6 that afternoon. Attached, you would find the 30% complete plans for the custom remodel at Santa Maria. The design team is still working on the performance specification for the UPS in lieu of the backup power generator. Hope to have that to you in the near future for your reviews. Thank you, John Smith. And then maybe Carrie can get that to all the board members that you can see. Just in a general sense, I think things are on track. Our relationship with Customs and Border Protection is positive. They are pleased that we're investing the time, effort, and resources to get the building up to speed. They, have let us know that once we're done, that they can start to chart out when they're going to get us a customs agent, which is the person who needs to facilitate that on a daily basis. That could be a 4-day, 10-hour days is kind of how DFO Martel told me not too long ago that they had envisioned it. If there's a real push and the market demands having 5 days, 5 8-hour days, that might be less agreeable to them, but they're open to working with us. On my end, really preparing the database, working with MBAA. I got off the phone with Phil Durner last week, who is head of the Western region for NBAA, and trying to put a database together of the people who fly into the LA Basin, Van Nuys and LAX, and clear customs there from Mexico, the East, and Canada, is really a really critical part of our success. We don't want to build this, as I said before, and not have traffic. So it's a painstaking process, just getting the attention of aviators in the particularly general aviation community. So it requires, just a lot of phone calls, a great database, backup, a website, which we do have as SMX Customs. That's kind of what helped generate our report that impressed CBP enough to approve it. So if you haven't been to SMX Customs, you can look at, we're gonna have to redesign that a little bit. And then just to set your expectations, the idea, if you ultimately have a landing a day, I think you have a reasonably busy GA customs operation. I'm not saying it could be more, but it's not going to be that on day one. And what I want the board to understand is some previous board members, when they canceled it prematurely back in 2009, it was in part because they were a little bit embarrassed that there wasn't much traffic. And that's because it was not marketed properly. It was not marketed in a sophisticated way, in a granular way, where you literally tell people that fly these planes that Santa Maria is amazing. It's a great place to clear customs, get in and out in 15 minutes or less. I've already labeled it the premier customs experience on the West Coast of the United States. And that's a lofty description, but I think we can do that because of the sea level runways, great weather, incredible location between LA and San Francisco, and a number of other things in and out. A great customs agent, which will require that CBP. I've already told them you're not an ill-mannered customs agent, but rather extremely positive and friendly one that will make people want to come back, where we open our arms to Santa Maria and make this an amazing place. And I think ultimately this aligns well with some of what the board has said about, when you look at the possibility of
building maybe more owner-built hangars, to house, Southern California's best jets and airplanes maybe in the future, some of the visions you've articulated. I think it'll be a nice way, if we're successful in getting to traffic we want, of introducing Santa Maria to the general aviation community, because I still think it's an incredibly well-kept secret to the GA community. There's lots of people that would love to clear here and enjoy customs. And it's my effort to call and evangelize about that, to get us, at least get us some traffic starting in the fall, which could be October, it could be November. But we really want to have a great facility, great customs agent, really good marketing, so that we can start to build our traffic from day one. So that's my report.
Two things I'd just like to add to that is, the website Tom was referring to is linked to ours. We do have a link on there. And you have in your packet the current time schedule that we have out there.
And I think that's really important because it does, so you don't have any question about how things are progressing with the facility improvement, et cetera.
So other than the name for it, like the Premier Customs, what other marketing plans or marketing campaigns has that started? Have we started drafting that? Have we started building that along?
Yeah, I think phase one is really, like I said, the construction of the database, whatever NBAA will give us in terms of data, in other words, being able to reach private jet owners, corporate jet owners, charter jet owners, all the people that make up the GA community. I think that database is critical, and I feel pretty familiar with this because I had in the summer of 2020, I had to dive in, during the COVID thing, alone in my office, figure out how do I get a hold of people and find out if there's an appetite for this. Well, it involved a lot of Boolean search online and phone calls, and really pitching people and asking these companies, these charter jet companies, private jet owners, corporate jet owners, saying to them, if you don't want customs at Santa Maria, I'd have them go to the website that we built, which was really key. When we were on the phone, I'd have them go there, look at it, because it had a map, it had language. So if this isn't appealing to you, don't do us any favors at the Santa Maria airport, because we don't want to go through this if this isn't helpful to you. And what ultimately resulted was that stack of letters that is an addendum to the report. I don't know if you've all looked at what won us approval in Washington. They said it was one of the better proposals they've ever received because it had the meat of, it had people on letterhead saying, yes, we use customs and we use it this many times a year. So that worked pretty well. The database is key. I wish there was a sexy kind of easy online opportunity, but it's very granular. It's a lot of phone calls to a fairly targeted market. Does that help at all?
Yes, it does. So we're really just on targeted marketing.
Yeah, quick question, Tom. Have you thought about getting a hold of both Van Nuys and LAX? Because those are public records when aircraft come in from other places and they clear there and they have tail numbers and they've got staff.
It's an interesting idea. I didn't know if I could access those. I've had people say check FlightAware and I could see who's, who learned who's flying in.
I would get it right from the operations people down there. They're required to publish or to give it out as public information when asked, or go through FOIA if you have to. But then you've got a year or 2 years of data of people who are using miserable places that come to a better place.
I'll check that out.
Well, just look at Ontario also.
See?
Ontario, they have customs there.
Like
One thing I may add is I do have a contact in San Bernardino who said I could bring Tom down there and we could go through their facility and talk to them about how they market it and people they have coming in as well. San Bernardino, it's actually San Bernardino Airport. They have a GA facility.
And I've heard the congestion continues to be bad at Van Nuys and LAX, and that people who fly private jets are the least tolerant of that. So it's going to be a godsend for them,
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, but I'm trying to take a break.
All right, moving on to item number 14, discussion and direction of staff regarding outside communications.
Thank you, Mr. President. This item came up during agenda setting from you and Director Adams to discuss tonight in regards to a recent interview.
I'd like to put this on there. It's always been, in the past, it's been kind of the board's stance that if there's any kind of media communication that would be done through the general manager and not done through the board members. With what was put out was not accurate. It's damaged our report with the city. We've got a great report with the city of Santa Maria. And if I was sitting there, I would take it as a slam to them, what happened. I've got problems with it too. The other thing too is no one's authorized to represent me but me. So I don't want anybody representing that they're representing me, because they're not. That's kind of my thing on it. Before, in the past, we've always had it set up, like I said, if the news got a hold of us, we were to take and report it, in this case to Kerry. When Martin comes on, it would be him, and then it's their baby to do. So that's kind of the way it's been done in the past. I think it worked well with us, for us. I don't know. I think what you did cause problems, and it's gonna cost us.
So I'll say like these. So I personally think, you know, going off and going to the radio or going to a news outlet and speaking with them, that's totally fine on a personal level if you're doing it for if you're speaking about yourself and your stances. But the moment you start bringing in ideas and the moment you start claiming that the rest of the board has agreed, that's when it starts causing issues, because it seems like we're gonna do those things when we haven't even discussed, and we're talking about the whole ARF situation, the whole fire department situation. We still don't know how that's gonna look. So it's very, it could be potentially damaging, kind of putting all our cards on the table or showing what we are thinking, because we haven't even decided on what we're gonna be thinking yet. And then on top of that, you know, so again, like if you're going out there and you're like, I believe, that's totally fine. You can believe whatever you want. You can say on the radio, or write on the Santa Maria Times or whatever, as much as you want. But when you say, I've spoken to the whole board, we have all agreed, and I'm speaking for the entire board, that's when issues can be really problematic.
And the last time we were in here, I looked at the entire board and I gave that rendition of what I thought we could do with the ARP thing. How we could partner up with the city of Santa Maria and put them in here. So that we could get rid of the bill that we got with the city of Santa Maria. It would be a win-win for both sides. And I looked at everybody here and I said, yeah, that sounds like that's what we could do. And I had a lunch with one of the board members here. We sat down and we kept talking about it. And I'm glad to keep moving in that direction, because I think that there's something to be had there. I think we can absolutely partner up with the city so that we could use our airport fire department partnered with the city, so that the city could come over and put a fire truck in there, bring their guys over, and we don't have to pay them anymore for them to just put out a grass fire if we got one out here. And I know that with the certifications are there, I know we can have the ARP certification stuff, so we can make that work.
If we're gonna do negotiation, we can't negotiate it on the radio airwaves. And try to have the other people that you're trying to work and deal with, expect them to come in all warm and fuzzy to do it. With what happened, it damaged our relationship with the city. I guarantee that the city did not like the way that came across. So, with what you're saying and you want to do is fine, but you can't do it. We can't have one board member going to the radio and taking representing that you are the board. That's not the proper. We've never done that before, and I strongly vote against that happening in the future.
Well, this is just a discussion. It's not necessarily a voting situation or anything going on here. But what you know, and we're gonna continue looking into that. That's where we're still talking about all that stuff too, but we're years down the line from the contract even expiring in the first place, and we don't even have a set plan yet. So to go off and say like, well, this is what we're planning. this
It
is
was
what
my
we're gonna do.
ideas, it was my ideas, and I'll stand with my ideas. They're not yours, they're mine. Fine.
No, that's
Stand
not
with
what
those
we're,
ideas.
no, that's not what we're not having.
If you're gonna do that, do it as your ideas, don't do a Santa Maria Public Airport. Board, because that, it's not.
Well, I guess I was mistaken because the fact is, when I looked at everybody, everybody's shaking their head, yep, that sounds like a plan we ought to be thinking about going that direction. Yep, let's do that. Looks like I have the
At no
consensus
point did
here.
we think you were
Fine.
gonna go on the radio and do the, yeah.
Fine, okay. And here on out, it's my own ideas.
You know, and
I support you.
you and I sat down, we had lunch, and I think it's something we should look into. I talked to Mojave today, or here the other day, because they privately contracted. Okay, now, they don't have to have the services that we do. They don't have to have their firefighters that are certified. It's $60,000 a month.
And they don't have to answer to the citizens of Santa Maria who are crying out for they were crying out for fire department.
They have the answer to their
See,
citizens.
that's part of the inaccuracy that you have, that the money part didn't have anything to do with us getting the airline or not. That is totally misleading people.
See, so, you know, I'm looking into that, I'm looking at, okay, what we pay the city and what Mojave pays. We need to have more services because we have airlines coming in here. They're paying $60,000 a month.
I apologize for jumping in, but I think we need to be careful that we don't go on beyond the scope of the items agendized. We're not agendized for discussion about
Okay.
our service. And I hate to do that, but one of my main jobs as lawyers, make sure we stay within.
Essentially, the idea of the people. Essentially, all I want to say is, you know, by all means, if you want to go on the radio and if you want to go on the news stations, go for it. You're right, you can do it, right? Just make sure that if you're gonna be talking about the airport, make sure that you're talking about it in yourself and, you know, your ideas. And unless we all have all agreed on it, or have actually like on paper agreed on it. They're your ideas, and then after that, or on top of that, you know, just have accurate information, right? The whole airline service, like, we don't need, it's not a money factor for the airline services that's causing the airlines not to be here. I really wish you could have attended that airline conference, and hopefully you can attend one in the future so you can actually see like the packets and everything that we actually present to these airlines. So yeah, so just, you know, accuracy of information. That's all I really care about. So, all right.
Yeah, for the record, I believe it's got the right idea and we should move ahead on that soon. So,
What's that?
Okay, he said for the record, he believes he has the right idea, and we should move ahead on that soon. Okay, so moving on to item number 15. Authorization for the president and secretary to execute the lease agreement between the district and the United States of America for the office space lease for the Transportation Security Administration located at 3249 Terminal Drive, Santa Maria, California, 92455.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the newest lease for the TSA. They occupy some space up in the second floor of the terminal, and we would like to keep them there so we can keep TSA services here. And this is their new lease. The current one is expected to expire in June.
I read that, looks like we're getting it for 1,400 square feet, we're getting a very good rate, so I would recommend.
The government pays the highest rate of any tenant.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break, and after that, we'll go into closed session.
That's not.
What?
You get pretty good with that.
I have to put it all on it. I'm going to do that.
So we go back into open session, and then after that, going for a public comment, and then we'll be going into closed session. So feel free to come on in, guys.
You guys can come
It's-
back.
it's open session, so.
Or yours, I'm up.
Yeah,
You're up.
do you have the form? I'll take the form.
Oh, okay. You don't need to fill it out. I thought we said we didn't need it, so I didn't fill it out.
Just go ahead and fill out your name.
On March, right?
You've got to consider.
Harvey? Yeah. Hi, good evening, like the board, for the opportunity to speak with you. I've got myself in a little bit of a situation because of it. I have a hangar, one of the new hangars out at the east and west end of the runway airports. And I've gone through a period of time with a team number to go along with the airplane. And we're an aviation family. I'm a retired airline pilot. My kids are all in aviation. They're all about airplanes. And over the course of things, I've had when I purchased the hangar up here, I've had an airplane up there when I regret selling it for 17 years. That's been the team number that was on the hangar up there. And then I did sell the airplane at that point in time. So we've gone through a window of time here, going to replace the airplane. We've been on a couple of airplanes. And so that's what this is all about. And I've had a number of notifications and stuff from the airport office about getting a TAM number. And I did want to note that on the last two application paperwork, I did put the tail number of this airplane down as because at that time, I supported my kids in aviation financially. And so that's why a lot of my stuff that I have does not have my name on it. And so we've kind of gone through that, and we've gone through a quick session here to get my name on an airplane here so that we don't get in trouble with you folks. And to go along with that, the reason the last couple of through you're getting away with, we've been dealing with my wife has cancer, and it all happened when we lived down south. We moved up here a little over 2 years ago. So when we started all the doctoring and stuff, it was all down there. So we've spent our last over 2 years running back and forth to doctors and south. We now live in the home. And so that was the time frame for things. And to go back, not to bore you with a lot of the story, but the notification on this, we left because their last surgery was in the tail end of January, and the doctor required it because of the situation to be near the hospital. So I've been gone for over 3 weeks. So a lot of this paperwork was loaded that I couldn't address. I didn't get it. I mean, I didn't know about any of this until about the 23rd, 4th, 5th of February here. And they were sending out these notices, but I didn't know anything about it. In fact, the only reason I found out about it is one of my cohorts at the hangar said there's a piece of paper on your door, the hangar. And so that was my first, so well, what is it? Something about, and he really didn't elaborate, but I said, you better get a hold of it. So that's what I did, call him, get a hold of Christie. I said, what's going on? And he got a, so I'm like, you know, I have interest in airplanes. The airplane, we have set them all up, and we have hangar space down there, and so the airplane's gonna bounce back and forth a little bit. I just want to pass that on because it wasn't like I was trying to ignore you, or ignore the airport or its requests or whatever in that nature. And I really totally appreciate the reason for that, because airports hangars are for airplanes. And I know there's a lot of smaller airports I was involved in when up in Utah. But there was companies or people who come in and start up a cabinet shop or start up a machine shop inside of the hangar. And I'm certain that that's what this is kind of all about you have to have an airplane in the hangar. I probably should be saying something else, but I just want to let you folks know that I certainly wasn't ignoring or trying to put something upon you folks. And we have since only to accommodate you folks because we've had the years. I quickly, we got, I have a name on an airplane. The airplane's been in the hangar off and on. We talked to, with Christie about this got an old transponder in, so it's in transmit, it's, what do you call it, the airfare, let's say, it's local, as it travel around the country. And, but we don't fly it that often, but we do. And, the time we haven't been flying, it's been there, it's been down there, so it's been all over the spot, all over the place. And, so I'm hoping that we'll, be able to rectify this without too much more motion, because, we're here, this has been my dream. I'm still looking to buy another airplane, but, besides that, so, I guess that's about all I have to say.
Well, thank you, Art.
Okay.
Thank you very much. What airline did you fly for?
I'm sorry?
What airline did you fly for?
Western.
Western?
Yeah. There's just a lot of folks here that, and we're getting, Steve Henn is doing that. Planes of Fame, I'm really excited about that for the airport. I think that's going to be a huge boom for the community and for the airport. So,
Okay.
Thank you, Art. Okay, we will be going into closed session now.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, we're gonna go into closed session. All right, we exit closed session with reportable actions.
Coming out of closed session on item 16B, with regard to Mr. Corder's hangar, the board has directed myself and Mr. President, Mr. Corder to make his hangar available for inspection tomorrow, to confirm the registered aircraft is present, and the board is okay with reinstating the lease going forward. Otherwise, we'll move forward with the eviction. But Mr. Corder, if you can coordinate with Ms. Fenton for a time that's convenient for her, or making this record, whoever it is, to come by tomorrow.
I appreciate that.
Then we can wrap that up.
Thank the board.
Okay, thank you. And there was no reportable action with regard to any other closed session items.
Okay, moving on to item number 17, director's comments. Start with Mr. Musket.
I probably sound like the gong from time to time, beating the same gong, energy. Yesterday, or at least I read the prediction yesterday, that as we get more and more electrical cars or trucks and other things, some electrical aircraft coming, the grid is not prepared for that, and more grid is going to fail. And I'm happy that we restarted the little parking lot solar collector, and let them know the status of the RFIs to go out to make us energy independent. Help make us energy independent, so we keep the lights on here when other things are dark. I believe it's our duty to do so.
No comment tonight. No comment. Maybe the motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All fair? Aye. Oh. Gosh, I was getting like. Really.